In this video, I'm going to show you the steps I used to paint this old school meets modern paint scheme that's really popular today. It's going to be a two-part video. The first video, I'm going to go over how to mask and how to work with your fine line tapes. And then in the second one, I'm going to show you how to shade and give it kind of a three-dimensional, and then come back with your candy colors to give it some pop and some character. Let's go ahead and get started. To start this project off, I base coated this tank with a mixture of 3 parts fine metallic, 1 part medium metallic. That's going to give me decent coverage with a little bit of sparkle. This took about 7 to 8 coats. Your aluminums and metal flakes don't cover much. I did this over a dark sealer color to give me a nice silver finish that I can put my graphics on, and my candies that I lay over it will give a good pop. A couple of things you're going to need to do this project are some form of measuring tape. I like a cloth measuring tape so it can conform to the edges. There's different tools out there that can help do this. Stabilo pencil or some other form that you can use to make marks on your tank or your project so you can keep your lines even. And of course, various different fine line types. I like the FBS. They got quite a few different softness or pliable for doing long lines or tight curves, depending upon what you're doing. And they also have quite a few different widths. 16th, 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch are your common ones. Then I've got just regular old production tape, 3/4 inch and 1.5 inches are the ones I generally work with. On this one, I'm just going to use the 3/4 inch and my various fine line tapes. A couple of other things that I've got done for this particular project are some pre-cut or die cut, however you want to call it, paint mask stencils for some filigree shapes and stuff. Another one that I did that a lot of people don't do, for this particular tank, I cut a template that I'm going to sit down on my tank, and it gives me a basis to take all of my tapes and build off of, and then I can peel it off, and it gets me a more uniform look and a solid base to work on. I don't always use it, but on a project like this where I want both sides to be almost perfectly symmetrical, a lot of the times I will find one panel on the tank, cut that in a paint mask, put that down and build off of it, and then remove it when I need to. Let's go ahead and jump in, get this project started. First you gotta set up and get your center lines or your places that you're going to base off of. For this one, since I'm using the template, I generally only need that center line. But I'm going to go ahead and take some measurements. Since it's a cloth tape measure, I can just come across it. And go all the way across. Looks like 11.5 is going to be the center mark. Yeah. You could also eyeball this if you wanted to, but I find place. And do the same thing over on this side. Get your measurement. And generally, when you're doing this, you can put your hands on either side. You'll feel when you're a little off or whatever. We're actually pretty good at putting our fingers together. That's what you're going to try and do. Get the one side lined up good, and then come over and do the same thing. And piece of fine line. line it up. Now I'm not covering my mark, I'm going just to one side or the other of it. one was a little bit off. Tape must have slipped. Nope, nope. Tape didn't slip, my eyeball slipped. And then just do a light mark along the center. Now, I'm going to take my template, kind of get it lined up on there a little bit. Peel back just a little bit of it. And fold it. You can see I got a towel placed down here too. That's just to keep me from scratching my tank while I'm maneuvering it around. I want to pull just enough of this. It can be a pain in the butt, especially when you have a tank in the way. Got a better spot over here. So. Get the center lines lined up. Like so. Plotter's blade caught this one. I went through there. But like I said, it's just a template, so it's not super important. You just kind of peel it off and bring it down and line it up. Little tear. Might have actually, nope, I don't like it there. Tear in the center is helping out. You want to make sure that the distance here and the distance here, all that kind of lines up and looks like it's a good circle around. Takes you a couple times to get it placed perfect. That's fine. You want it placed as close to perfect as possible. Just kind of smooth it out a little bit. This one kind of set where you want it. Yourself a squeegee. You just kind of press out from the center. There's little wrinkles around the edge up here. If this was going to be an actual mask, I'd worry about those. Kind of use a heat gun and smooth it out. But since this is just a template for my tape, do that just a little bit. It's just a template for my tape. So you don't need it to be perfect. There we go. Now we're going to grab our fine line tapes. For this particular one, I want a 1/4 inch border inside and outside, but I want it to be two 1/8 inch borders. One slightly darker than the other one. So I'm going to grab my my fine line tape. Now you should be able to do this both hands, guide hand and burnishing hand. Burnishing means to smooth out. You're going to give yourself a little bit of a tail. Make sure that you got a little extra going off the edge there so you can wrap it around or adjust if need be. Come back and get a hold of it. Lock down just that one end. Now this hand I'm going to use to smooth the tape out. This hand I'm going to use to guide it. I'm going to try and keep my tape nice and level, so if I have to twist it, generally you want to twist it to where the adhesive side is going to the inside of your curve. And you want to get out there 6 inches or more, because that gives you a much smoother line. If you're working up real tight and close, your lines will be more jagged. So if I was like working right here, my line would be really jagged. As you can see, I've got it out there a little ways. Sometimes you got to get a little closer for going around corners, but generally 5-6 inches or more is kind of a good spot to be working at. Now, that template that I put down is just speeding this process up. You can do this freehand and just kind of eyeball it, or you could use this method. Both are completely acceptable. Use your tools, guys. Don't lock yourself in or take extra time that your customer's got to pay for or wait for. Find ways to streamline your process, get things done a little quicker, and be nice and precise and look. Now, again, like I said, I wanted a 1/4 inch line here. I've got 1/8 inch, and now I'm just going to come around and trace that outside again with the 1/8 inch, and then I'll put one more across the center of it, just because you're not going to get that perfect butt up against it, and you don't want anything going in between it. Again, give yourself a little tail. Secure that edge down, pull out your lead, hand to guide it, while you smooth it down. You want it to be almost overlapping, just touching it. You need to get different angles to see, go for it. Trying to keep this in the camera view for you. And don't worry about your little stabilo marks. They come off with wax and grease remover relatively easy. When you peel off, just remember to wipe them off real quick. Okay, now do the same on the inside. We're good to go. We're gonna get ready to see why I like this FBS so much. This FBS red is nice and soft and pliable and goes around corners really well. It's nice. I'm sure you guys have tried before and tape something down and then come back a little bit later and it's peeled up around the corners. That's because some of these tapes out there, to get good tight corners, you got to stretch it. When you stretch it, the adhesive goes away. Here, at this corner, I'm not going to stretch it. I'm just going to guide it and patiently come around that corner. I'm not putting any tension, stretching just enough to keep the tape flat for me. If you get it a little bit off like I did, just peel it back up a little bit. Take your time, be patient. Position it to where you can work on it the easiest. And you want it almost overlapping. You don't really want to see any silver through it. You want it to be touching the other one. You don't want it to overlap too much. Basically, you just want them buttered up against each other. Keep that tail out there good and long. So it's a nice smooth transition around the corner there. There you go. No stretching, just pull it, or just work the smooth tape. Pull your tail out. Straight line. Oop. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to get up on end like this once you get it. There we go. Now, that template saved a lot of time. I could have been sitting there going around and around, but that gave me a good solid base to work off of. And you can just remove it and get it out of your way. One quick final one over the center, just so I don't get any bleed through between the two of them. This won't take any time at all because it does not need to be as precise. The other ones are going to be your paint lines. This is just to keep you from getting bleed between the two and ruining your effect. Inside. The next piece, I want a little bit more than a 1/2 inch line here because I have these little 1/2 inch circles that I'm going to put in here. And to get that, fine line tape, 1/2 inch. I'm just going to run a trace around that. And then to get me my little space over a 1/2 inch, I'm going to take my 1/8 inch fine line and go around that. It's a time-consuming process, but if you take your time and do it right, it makes it extremely pleasant, complex designs that your customers will be all about. So this one is not FBS. This is a product called K-Tape. My distributor was out of the 1/2" FBS tapes, but they have this K tape. This is the first time I'm using it. It's a little thinner than FBS, but it does seem to have good pliability. It's extremely sticky though. It's gone and taped onto itself. So good sharp razor blade here. See if I can do this without having to rework the whole thing. I'm gonna go with a spot that was pretty straight. Peel it back. The reason why I went back here to where it was pretty straight is I need to splice in. Now you've got to be able to do this, not just for fixes like this, but when you're connecting up circles or some pattern that the graphic comes back on itself. Just because this part is also template does not mean that I don't want it to follow that tape line perfectly. Because each piece of tape also sets up the distance for the next one. You just keep building off of your center. Okay. Again, with that brand new sharp blade, I'm gonna come in and just trim, preferably staying on the tape so I'm not cutting into my my project. There we go. Now I just blended that in really well. Now over here I'm going to have to do that extremely well because it's going to be the actual line, and we'll show you how you do that. Get there. Okay. Now, like I said, that 1/2" is not quite thick enough for it. So I'm going to come in with another 1/8". Same thing. Line up, lock your tab, tail down, and just follow your curve. If need be, one side. That's why I've got the towel down. The towel makes it to where I can do this without scratching up the surface of my previous work. Now I want a 1/4 inch just like this line, but I want this one to be one piece. So 1/4 inch. Get started. If you're not sure if the line is straight, stand back and look at it, or not straight, but even. None of these lines are actually straight. The whole point of this is to try and get your lines nice and evenly spaced. So when you unmask everything, you don't have jagged lines or fat and skinny spots. Okay. Now, this is another spot where I'm going to use one of my templates. There's a corner I want down in here, and I want it to be the same on both sides. So I have gone ahead and just cut myself little corner pieces of tape, and then I can just run my tape into it, and it gives me a good starting place for my tape. I'll line it up exactly where I want it. And then again, similar to the top, use it as a template, but this is actually going to mimic the 1/8 inch tape. I like using the clear transfer tape because it allows me to see what I'm doing a lot better. Then I'm just going to line this up where I want it. I'm not pushing it down really hard yet. I want to make sure I get it placed where I want it. Damn it. Actually looks pretty darn good. Same thing on the other side. Again, not locking it down, making sure that I get it even, and I got that one good on the first try. There we go. Now we can just build off of that. 1/8 inch fine line. Put it so where it goes on your tape. You can see I got a little bit of, I'm not worried about that because I'm going to cut it off. Mostly where I'm worried about is right there where the break of that. I want to make sure that that's lined up really good. And then I just bring this on the edge of the tank. And I want it to be about an 1/8 inch-ish off the bottom, more or less, how much ever I put it up there. But it's kind of hard because the bottom of the tanks, especially on this style Sportster where it's a lip that's been welded, is not extremely even. Your main worry is just getting a nice smooth line there. Sharp razor blade, cutter, cut on an angle. Not pushing too hard, just enough to get through the first layer of tape. Make sure everything is pushed down really good. And this is why I said you got to be able to do it good both ways. My guide hand, my pressing hand, they are now different. But if you practice doing both directions, you won't have a problem. Back, cut, and there you go. Now I am stronger with my right hand guiding, so this next one, that's what I'm going to do. This one goes all the way around. Get everything lined up. Now this one, you can run a piece of tape between if you want, or you can just eyeball it to make sure that you get a consistent, smooth distance between the two. And then bring it up and around your tank. A little bit of a bobble in there, but I've got that tail so I can fix that. Smooth it out, bring it in. Now you can even lay your razor blade right up against the edge like this, and then just do a quick doink, and you'll cut it. Got a couple of different types of tweezers here. I've got my bent tweezers, and straight tweezers. I'm at the point now where I want to start putting my little circle templates down. I'm going to put them around here, and then 3 here, and then around here as well. And the first thing we're going to start doing is just grab a hold of, do this so I can see what I'm doing over here. I went ahead and did this. You could, in theory, treat this like a normal template and just place it down like so, cut the center out and put it down, or you can do it by hand and get a little bit more precise and fit the tank a little bit better. You gotta remember that this is a 2-dimensional surface that you worked on, and this is a 3-dimensional that you're putting it on. So, straight ones for this. Grab your edge, place it in the center. Place it in the center, and then just work your way around. You can use this as a template, give you an idea of where to put them, or you can just kind of eyeball them. You want to keep it an equal distance from top to bottom, all the way around. Put this one on, you want to take into consideration the other ones. You kind of line it up to where they're straight across here, straight back. Now I'm not going to lock them down right now, other than this one and this one, just in case I need to adjust them. Grab yourself a piece of quarter fine line. alcohol, wipe that center line off. Same thing through there. And we're all now ready to the next step. I'm gonna take some 3/4 inch and give me just off the center here, like so. Just have something, crop it up a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. Bottom here, about 1/8 of an inch. Again, I'm not stretching the tape. Just letting it conform. Now here, got kind of a spot where I snapped it. I'm going to go ahead, lay my razor blade up against here, and give it a good cut line. Bend that corner, and then just try to get my corner about my 1/8 inch. See what I'm doing here. And blending those lines together. Put my razor blade down, pull against the edge, smooth it out. Rinse and repeat on the other side. Start with that sharp edge this time. Apparently my blade is not as sharp as, there we go. Okay. Final step in masking is to put my logos on. Now, a lot of the times you will weed out your logo and have nothing but the pattern you're putting on, but occasionally you have really tight little graphics and all that, and sometimes, sometimes it's just easier to place the graphic and then do the final weed. So, that's what we're doing in this position. Just gonna go ahead and peel it, peel slow. Find a hard surface here. Again, one of the main reasons why I like using the clear is now I can see what I'm doing. And then I'm just going to eyeball line it up. I want it to be a little bit forward and starting to go around the corner. So, like that. Peel it. Now, make sure everything's down good and tight on the actual graphic. The back stuff you don't have to push down as much because you're going to be lifting that out. Now just slowly peel the part you're not wanting out. Pay attention, make sure you're not losing anything. If you do, it's not a big deal. You can cut another one and put it in place. There you go. You can see most of the weeding work is already done. You'll just come in and get your centerpieces and anything that may have ripped because of the angles. A lot easier doing it that way when you've got intricate little characters with lots of little points that don't want to come out of the mask. Another thing you can do if you're wanting to weed it out is take a heat gun and heat up your vinyl mask before you put the transfer tape on it, or before you go to weed it. And that kind of helps shrink back the edges just a little bit. And sometimes that makes it easier to weed as well. So I'm just taking the edge of my tweezers here, my sharp tweezers, and I'm putting it on the vinyl. I'm not pushing it into the paint, I'm pushing it into the edge of the vinyl, or the center of the vinyl, and just kind of getting it to wrinkle up a little bit. And then grabbing it. Make sure everything's pushed down good. There you go. Rinse and repeat this on the other side. just starting to go around the edge, centered, and place it. Transfer tape, push down all of your important parts. Okay, got all of my graphics masked out. I'm ready to go to paint. I am going to take one last step at this point, and I'm going to go through and make sure everything's pushed down, make any adjustments to my, my tape that I may need, kind of take a step back, look at it as the whole picture, make sure everything's lined up and looking good, and make any adjustments I need before I go to paint. But that's the basics of doing old school lowrider lowrider geometric panel paint graphics. I've heard it called a lot of different things. That's the basics of it. Stay tuned for part 2, where we actually put the colors on and make this thing really pop. Thank you very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe.